Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Let's Play Warframe video. This video is going to be a little bit different than my typical videos because it's not going to be specifically about an update or an event or anything like that. It's not news, but I really have wanted to, for the last couple of weeks, do a video on my favorite Warframe. So today I'm gonna take you through not specifically my favorite one, but a couple of my favorite ones, because the Warframes, they're just the frames. They do so many different things, and they have so many different, well, some more some frames are a little bit more cut and dry on their purpose, but a lot of the Warframes have defensive abilities and offensive abilities, and there's long range, short range, depending on the weapon you have equipped. There's a lot of different things that these frames can do. And so I couldn't just pick one. I couldn't actually even pick three. I actually picked five of my favorites, and I have two runners-up. The first runner-up being Nova here. She's a really fun frame, but she really only has one ability that's really any good, which is why I kind of demoted her to a runner-up, and that's Molecular Prime, which is her ultimate. Basically, it primes all enemies in the radius to explode, and it deals massive damage, in addition to chaining to other enemies that are primed to explode. And you can clear a room with it very quickly, and it's a really good ability, and it actually just recently got nerfed, and it's still really good. But it's a little bit more, brought in line to be more reasonable. Before, it was just God mode. But we have our next runner-up here, Nyx. She's a lot of fun, too. She's kind of the psychic Warframe. Her abilities that are a lot of fun are Mind Control and Chaos. Basically, Mind Control, you gain control of one enemy, and they'll fight for you for a certain amount of time. Chaos is an AoE effect, but the enemies that it affects just fights each other. And that's also very interesting. It can definitely get you out of a tight spot if you're low on health or low on shields. And Absorb, which is Nyx's ultimate. Basically, she levitates off the ground, and all incoming damage is stopped. This is it right here. And it's absorbed, and then after a few seconds, it explodes outwards, and all the damage that was absorbed gets incorporated into the blast. So it behooves you to run into a big group and hit absorb, and then just blast people. It's a lot of fun to use. And Nyx is a lot of fun, but she's not somebody I go to when I'm looking to play someone just for fun. But at number 5, we have Rhino, and he's a lot of fun. A lot of people think of him as a one-trick pony, but he really isn't. His first ability is the only ability that's really kind of little, not very useful. Is Rhino Charge. Basically, he dashes forward and knocks all enemies out of the way and does damage, and it's just not really, compared to his other three skills, it's not worth it. But his second ability is the ability that, a lot of people like, and I think everybody pretty much uses when they use Rhino, is Iron Skin. Basically, it creates a shield that absorbs all incoming damage until it breaks, and then once it breaks, you can just recast it. So basically, you're invincible until you take the, I don't know, how much ever damage the Iron Shield takes. It actually doesn't tell you in-game. But it's a really good ability, and it really makes Rhino a very good endgame player. But his third ability is Roar. It's pretty simple. Basically, all allies in the radius of, when you use the attack, gain percent damage boost, which is a great support skill. And it's really good to see good, solid support skills on a character like Rhino, because he's, mostly oriented for solo play, but with that Roar ability, he does have that edge for team play as well. His fourth ability is Stomp. Basically, it's a CC ability that knocks all enemies into the air when you use it, and they kind of have this weird like slow motion effect as they fall down, and that can really help clear a room or give you some space to revive an ally if you need to. All in all, I love Rhino. He's great for Nightmare mode with Iron Skin. He's great for high-level defense missions. He's just a real fun Warframe all around. But our next Warframe is Hydroid. He's new as of Update 13, and I really like him. I've done a whole other video on Hydroid if you'd like to go watch that. He's a lot of fun. I primarily enjoy using his first and his fourth abilities, which is Tempest Barrage and Tentacle Swarm, respectively. And they're very similar. They're basically aimed AoE attacks. Tempest Barrage just, you point at a spot and a bunch of cannonballs go and hit that spot. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. But it's a very solid move, that can really create a good choke point and dish out quite a bit of damage once it's upgraded. Tentacle Swarm is basically the same thing, but instead of cannonballs, a bunch of tentacles come out of the ground and walls and ceiling, depending on where you point it. And it lashes out and grabs everybody in the radius. And it is really good for crowd control. It's really good for damage. It's really good for defending the capsule objective. It's just a really handy ability to have for most scenarios. It can really get you out of a tight spot. His other two abilities are Tidal Surge, which is 2. It's basically just a dash forward. He turns into a wave, and he dashes forward, and it looks cool, but it's not really a good combat move, because it doesn't really accelerate your movement very much. But it's not bad. It'll knock down enemies in its radius, so it could be worse. It could be his third ability, which is Undertow, which is just he becomes a puddle, and it's a fucking joke. But if you watched my other Hydroid video, you know exactly what I'm talking about already. But number 3 on our list is Loki, and he's definitely a stealth character. As you can see, his second ability is just turning invisible. It's a great ability, and one of the cool things about Loki is a lot of the times in games when you have invisibility, once you attack, you lose that invincibility, and that's not the case for Loki. Loki will stay invisible until the timer runs out, which is a lot of fun. Another good ability, which is what you saw me use right there, is Decoy. It's his first ability. Basically, he just summons a projection of himself, and enemies are forced to attack that instead of him, which is awesome, because that can get you out of really hairy situations. Again, it can get you, some breathing room to do a revive, or to have your shields respawn, or anything else. His third ability is a Switch Teleport, which basically teleports. It basically, you can do it with a decoy or an enemy, and you'll basically switch places. And it can disorient an enemy, or, it'll allow you to get into, hard to get positions. Because if you throw a decoy, on a roof of a building or something that you couldn't normally get to, and then do the switch teleport, it'll let you get on the roof of that building, and it's really handy. His fourth ability is really good, but kind of not something I use a whole lot compared to the other 3, and his ult is Radial Disarm, which basically forces all of the enemies in the radius to use their melee weapons, which can be really good if you're trying to defend an objective, or you're just trying to get people, if you're just trying to get them to lighten up a little bit, and it can really help you out of a sticky situation. And next on our list is Vauban. He is I would say the king of CC, because we have the Queen of CC up next, but we'll get to that when it comes. Basically, Vauban has 2 really good skills that I really like using, and that is Bastille, which you just saw, and Vortex, his third and fourth abilities. Bastille basically forms a prison around wherever you throw. All of his powers, you throw a grenade, and they just kind of happen. He's a very interesting Warframe. But when he throws a grenade, like a prison kind of comes up out of the ground, as you can see here, and it holds enemies in place. And that's really, it's really especially effective against infested, but it's also very effective against Corpus and Grenier as well, and that can really give you some breathing room. It can protect the defense objective. It's a great ability. It's a great CC ability. I'm a big fan of crowd control myself. I usually play, frames that have good crowd control abilities to begin with. But Vabin is definitely one of the best. Vortex is his ult, and basically it creates a black hole where you throw the grenade, and it sucks all of the enemies into said black hole. And that can be a lot of fun, especially on higher level infested missions. You just see, 30 infested guys just get sucked into this vortex. It's a lot of fun. His second ability is kind of his troll ability. It's bounce. Basically, you throw a grenade, and this little jump pad kind of materializes, and you walk into it, and it'll propel you upwards. And it's interesting. It's you basically the biggest. The most fun you'll have with it is when you throw it in front of somebody they're trying to run, and they just bounce forward. Oh, it's a lot of fun. But it can also get you into hard-to-reach places, which is good for defense missions and the like. So it is also a very tactical ability as well, but it's a big troll ability too. His first ability is Tesla, which is basically just a lightning grenade. And it's good. It doesn't deal quite as much damage as I would like, but it's not bad. It's not as good as Bastille or Vortex at crowd control, but it's the only ability he does that does actual decent damage. Vortex, I think, does a little bit of damage when they're in the vortex, but not much. Not worth, counting. But Vabin is definitely my second favorite Warframe, and he's a lot of fun. I've put a lot of hours into playing him. But now we've reached the PS2 to Resistance, my favorite Warframe, Banshee. She's a lot of fun. She's a lot of fun. She's I would say the crowd control queen of the game, with both Sonic Boom and Soundquake, her first and fourth ability. They're almost too good, I would say. Basically, Sonic Boom is a cone outward from Banshee when she uses it, and it basically just is this wave that knocks everything over. And that can give you up to about 2 or 3 seconds of breathing room. For 25 energy, it's a great ability. It's a fantastic ability. And great for crowd control. It's great with the right mods. You can have it affect up to like 30 meters. It's ridiculous how good this ability is. But her fourth ability is Soundquake, which is even better, I would say. This can affect, I believe, up to 50 meters, and it basically, just as long as you're using it, it will stun and stagger all enemies in the radius. So as long as you have it up, and it's toggleable, so you basically turn it on with 4, and it starts, and then you have to either you run out of energy or you hit 4 again. So potentially you can use Soundquake, from max energy to 0 energy, which is very nice, and it's just a really solid move, and it can definitely, with the right mods, it can affect a huge distance, and it can really help your teammates out. You can't do anything while it's active, but your teammates can, and that's really the point. Like, if you can get that and have good teammates that will go around and kill everybody that's stunned, it can be a really solid move. And her second ability is also it's a passive ability, but it's very good, and I've seen people run this just this is Sonar. Basically, it reveals all enemies on the minimap or in the radius of the attack, and also highlights a weak point. So it increases damage and situational awareness. and it's a really solid ability too. And Banshee is just she's a very huge support, but she's also really good at defense as well. And that's pretty much why. And she was also one of my first frames that I acquired. So, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of Let's Play Warframe. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I would appreciate it. And follow me on Twitter. The link is in the doobly-doo. And hopefully I'll have another more normal Warframe video coming out soon. Thanks.